Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Dave Nunez, along with our producer, Alden Iwani. Our very special guest today, Artesia boys baseball coach Jackson Bickel. His number one seeded Bulldogs will take on the Bernalillo Spartans in the best-of-3 series starting at 7 p.m. on Friday, and then continuing into Saturday at 11 a.m. Best-of-3. Coach Bickel's in his first year. His Bulldogs are 20-6, 9-0 in district. Coach, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited. Yeah, this is a great year, first year. It's just everything's new, so everything's exciting still. But we're having a great season. We're having a really good season, and these kids are so much fun to coach. They're so much fun. So, yes, sir.
You know what, Coach? I told you I did the PA last year for you. You weren't the head coach. This is your first year, and Artesia was defeated by Grants. An exciting game. It was a beautiful day too. I remember at Santa Ana Star Field. But you opened the season with Grants and beat them twice. You know, that's a good team. Did that, again, with you not being there as a head coach, I know the guys, it probably meant something more, to the returners. Was that game hyped up a lot? I mean, there's more baseball to play, and you've won 9 in a row, haven't lost in a while. But did that game mean a lot to the guys to start the season?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was an assistant coach for several years before this under Coach Ortiz. And so the sting is still there. I mean, it's still there for me, very much so, just with the kids. And so, when we picked up Grants on the schedule, we had to play him, right out of the gate. And so, we didn't flinch at all. We just took it and said, all right, let's go play him. And so, and even the Grants coach, he was pretty He was pretty cool about it too. He's like, hey, we get to pick up right where we left off. And so it kind of just shows you the level of professionalism of the coaches across the state with each other too. There wasn't anything more than let's just pick up where we left off, and that was good baseball, and let's go keep playing it. And so that's what we did. We came out on top that day, but we left that day also knowing that we might have woke them up a little bit too. We might have caught them sleeping a little on the championship win, and we had some guys missing. They had some guys missing too. But in a nutshell, those were both the same teams, and so that was big coming out there with those 2 wins, especially me as a first year head coach, and you got to go take on the defending state champions, and your team's supposed to beat them now. You're supposed to get them better and beat that game, and so a lot of validation on that game there, but. It also gave us the chance to see where we also need to improve on. And that's a good program right out of the gate to highlight some errors and some things there. So, yeah, we took that game and we loved it. It was a very healthy matchup.
Yeah, you know what? I would think so because, I mentioned, we had Charlie Campbell on our road to the pit, and he just came off of a championship, game with Artesia beating Highland earlier in the year. And Charlie plays football, and they lost to Roswell, I believe, this year. And they've been going back and forth. And, your friend and colleague, Jeremy Maupin, absolutely one of the best football coaches in the state. And also, along with being a great person, and then your other colleague, Mike Mondragon, winning his first championship there at Artesia since 1997. So it's been a while for the Bulldogs. It's a city of champions, Coach. It is. There's no doubt about it. You just mentioned 32 championships in football. And when I hear that, I'm like, dang, man, that, and you also serve as an assistant with Coach Maupin with the football program. Talk a little now. One of the things Coach Maupin told me when I had him on in March was that the coaches there all share. In other words, Coach Maupin doesn't mind if his football players go do a workout with Coach Mondragon. And I was like, a lot of coaches would mind. So talk a little bit about the cooperation you guys have, because look where you're at. Okay, so Artesia was in the football championship. Artesia won the basketball championship. Artesia baseball was in the state championship last year and is the number 1 seed coming into the state tournament. Talk a little bit about the culture, not only in baseball, but the sports programs all around there.
Yeah, man, there's so much to talk about right there. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun from the outside perspective looking in. I'm not from Artesia, and so seeing it from the outside perspective, that's very interesting because I can say it and not sound a little cocky, and so, but it's a well-oiled machine. I think to be here, you've got to have that team mindset, even as a coach, and that belongs in our whole athletic program, all of our athletic programs, and so. They want us to coach 2 sports here, and we coach 2 sports, and we're expected to coach those 2 sports equally as hard. And so it also shows the kids, hey, we're multi-sport coaches. You're multi-sport athletes, and and it just fits in with that culture. And so we'll be doing a spring football morning practice, and I'll be your offensive line coach, and then afternoon I'll be your head baseball coach. The next morning I'll be your strength and conditioning coach. And so we just make it work. It's a team of Bulldogs. The community knows that. They expect the coaches to come in and do that, and if the coaches come in and don't do that, they don't last very long. It's they protect the tradition and culture here, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
The success speaks for itself. I think when kids see that, and a lot of people say, back in the day, I can only concentrate on my sport. That's it. I'm locked in. I'm geared in. But when you say that, and you're coaching, for the championship here, man. You've got Bernalillo, and you've got some good teams in your class. Grants, Pius. There's some very good teams. So, but you're able to do that, and you get ready. You get the football team ready, and of course with Coach Maupin and Coach Mondragon on the staff, there's other coaches there too. I don't want to just single it out. Artesia softball is always very good too, and they're again the culture, a champion, city of champions, and I think you mentioned coach two sports and coach them hard. You wouldn't do it any other way, man. There's no way, because that's kind of the culture that's been developed there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and now Coach Maupin's going to be taking over the athletic programs, and you know how that is. He's going to drive the ship, and and we're gonna get even better at doing that. And so it's just fun seeing the future of our athletic programs too, not just this year or the success that's coming in, but the future success is still optimistic as well.
Things change. I think things change, and you won't have a better Coach Maupin learned under Cooper Henderson, played under Cooper Henderson. You may mention that name, and people stop and listen. So I think it's something that's always been ongoing there. I wanted to talk about, you coached also at Eunice High School, and
yes,
Eunice, you played varsity baseball in Portales, went to Eastern. You coached there at Eunice, football as the varsity football receivers, linebackers, head JV football coach, varsity baseball. Again, building to where you were going to be. Because a good friend of mine, Bruce Carver, was a heck of an athlete at Eunice, and so tell us a little bit about that experience. Eunice is another. I think every step, coach, to me, where you are now, right? Talk a little bit about the situation or what you learned there at Eunice.
Oh, yes, sir. So I guess my coaching career kind of started in Portales under the Nusser tree. Dusty Nusser, he's the head softball coach for Portales now, but I think he was the last one to win a championship in Portales for baseball. And so I got to learn under him really fast, and I liked learning under him. He was very organized. He was structured. He had a plan. 10 a.m. you had the practice plan emailed to your inbox, and so I kind of learned some things there. And also, his brother is a successful college coach as well, and so kind of learning from the Nusser family there has been a blessing. And I get to move on and learn under Coach Drew Reynolds, who was in Eunice, and he has a few championships under his belt, and he was a no nonsense guy. He was a lot of discipline, a lot of structure, and he wanted to work hard. And so, you bring that in, and then you add in my experience under Coach Ortiz as well. And Coach Ortiz really challenged the kids to attack the game at a high level, full speed, and he expected greatness and just high expectations. So when you put kind of all three of those places together, it kind of creates who I am as a coach. And also, if you take in the football side of things, I got influenced by a very great program builder, Ken Stevens. He's a head football coach at Hobbs, and also the assistant athletic director. So he's kind of a mentor of mine. We still stay in touch. And so I get to hear him, great godly man. So I get to hear, I get mentored from both sides there a little bit. And then Coach Maupin as well. So I've been surrounded by some really great mentors, and I've been very fortunate. But I think that's kind of what makes me who I am, and it lets me apply some things from some really good coaches out there, kind of younger in my career. And these things work, so it's really fun.
I think mentors matter a lot. You mentioned the Nussers. Gosh, how long they've been around, man? A long time. That's some good people there. You mentioned Eunice. They've had a good football program for many years. They've been winners there for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then you go to Artesia, And I can't say enough about Coach Maupin and Mike Mondragon. Those guys I know, and they're good. They're good people too. Young, vibrant, competitive, want to learn. Mike has been at Artesia, had been there at Artesia, went to Moriarty, came back. So Mike had played there. He's a Bulldog. So what was it like for you to come into that situation when you're going to Artesia? What was your feelings? Because you're young. You know who Artesia is, man.
Yeah.
What was your feelings when you knew you were going there?
Yeah. So I wasn't uncomfortable with Artesia. In fact, I don't really talk about this much because I wasn't here very long, but I did come to Artesia my junior year for a few months. Played football here under Coach Henderson, but I was a small town guy. I came from Farwell, Texas, and Clayton, New Mexico, and Eunice, kind of small town. So when you see Artesia, man, it's like, wow, it's big. It's Artesia. That's a huge school. They have more than one stoplight, and there's all these interesting things about Artesia that seem big. But, being here for those 2 months, I got to experience what the program and culture was like under Coach Henderson's program. And so that right there made me feel a whole lot more comfortable stepping in and knowing that I kind of know the expectations. I had to do the expectations. And so, but no, it was fun, but it was also very respectable. Like, you've got to respect this place. You have to. It's not just, the coaches they bring in, it's the community that demands expectations. And so, you respect that as you come in as well. And so, that's Artesia, man. You come in, you got to go to work. Day one, you're working day one.
I can imagine, we got a couple seconds here. We'll break and then come back. But I can only imagine. I think I told that to Coach Maupin and to Mike, Coach Mondragon. They see you in town, right? They see you, they know you. And, there's expectations, right? Coach, what happened against Roswell? Even though you got 32, they want 62. It's a culture. It's a culture. Everybody understands we can't win every game. There's coaches. We know that. We learn from sometimes from our losses, some more than we do from our wins. I always say that you don't enjoy the wins as much because you're saying, oh, we didn't do this right, we didn't do that right. But there's expectations there. There is. And they just don't bring any coach in there either, man. They don't. So I think that a testament to what you brought there, and you've got Artesia as the number 1 seed in this upcoming state baseball tournament. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this year's version of the 2025 Artesia boys baseball team after these messages on the Sports Desk.
Thank you.
Up to 18 miles per hour from the southwest. Bunt shown by Bickel. It's going to get to first, and he won't tag him, so that advances the runner.
2-2 count. There's a pitch. That one's going to go into right field. Catch is not made. It gets through. Tinker had to hold up, but he takes off. Vados over to second. Tinker on the high horse. Vados with the triple, RBI triple.
Smashed out to left field. That one's hitting the signboard. It's just a little bit short, but Aaliyah Alvarado gets the scoring going here for the Rio Rancho Rams as they take a lead 1-0 on an Aaliyah Alvarado pulled shot.
Second base, and he deals. There's a line drive, base hit into left field. Mattison is getting waved home. Here comes the throw to the plate, cut off and thrown, and he is out.
To it, and Marcos Martinez does not catch up to it. They're coming in to score. This is going to be a play at the plate. Running into the ball on his way in is Damon McCree. And now the play at the plate. Did he get him? No! All the runners come around.
That one is through, and the game is tied at 5. Santa Maria. It's kicked and left by Sundstrom. That'll allow the winning run into third base.
Showers bringing in Flowers. Del Angel smokes that one to left field, and Anthony Del Angel knew it from the second he struck it. Anthony Del Angel puts another one on the board for the Storm. Cleveland playing good in the rain. As the thundercloud rolls, Anthony Del Angel rolls back to home.
Escobedo hits one to right field. Short blue. And what a catch by Gabe Matamoros again, showing off that glove. Ground ball down the left field line. It stays fair. One run will come in. Here comes another. Griego with a 2 RBI single, and Farmington jumps 11-7 in the top of the 11th.
Brito skies one to center. Going back. Still going. And gone! Brito walks him off with his second home run of the day. 2-run bomb in the 8th. And the Cougars' season's alive and well as they take down the first place Rams.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Our very special guest today is Artesia boys baseball coach Jackson Bickel. His Bulldogs, the number 1 seed in 4A, will take on the Bernalillo Spartans in a best-of-3 series at Artesia starting Friday at 7 and resuming Saturday at 11 a.m. Coach, in the first half we talked about your experience, your coaching experience. There's the bracket there, and you'll get the winner of Valley and Hope Christian if you advance. What do you know about the Spartans of Bernalillo? What do you know?
I think they got a couple of kids on there, the Castro as a name that you got to battle, and so you kind of go through their stuff online and you can get a pretty good picture of who's going to be their producers and who's not. But I can tell you now that Bernalillo, I don't see them as a 16 at all. I saw them more as a 10, 11. And so, to me, this is more of a dangerous. It's more dangerous than a 16-1 matchup. And so, we're going to respect them as as a much better team than 16. And so, I think as we continue this week, that's what we're going to do is we're going to respect them and we're going to get better at what we do and get ready to apply it on them.
You're the number 1 seed, and you've got definitely targets on your back for sure. You haven't lost in a while. I believe the last loss you had was at Carlsbad, 2-0. And you mentioned Portales beat them 24-1, 13-3, 13-1, 3 wins in a row against them, undefeated in the district, 11 runs against Levington, 11 against Levington, 12 against Levington. You've got some juice, man. You mentioned you might have broke some records along the way. Talk about Artesia's offense a little bit.
Yes, sir. So, offensively, we really tried to attack this year, trying to swing shorter. These kids, they're strong, man. They're really strong. They get after it in the weight room all year long. We don't lift, just for football or other sports. We lift for multi-sport reasons. And so they love it whenever they can send a ball over the wall every time, but in a game, we need the ball to be put in play in certain spots. So offensively, we really try to tackle staying short and attacking the baseball. And that put up 207 runs this year for us. And so it's pretty good offensively, home run wise. Byers is leading the team. He's got 7 there, and that's even with missing some games for basketball. He got to play in the basketball championship this year. And so, him and a few others are on our team from that. But on the bags, these guys, they're aggressive, they're intelligent, they're crisp. And those are the 3 things that we're really going to harp on too. You know, we understand that as you get into this game, you're going to see guys that can take away one of those three. They're going to take away your crispness. They might take away your intelligence because they're smarter. They might have a better pickoff move. They might even take away a little bit of your aggression or confidence, but don't let them take all three. Stay crisp, stay aggressive, or, want something, stay there. Offensively, I think we got to take what we do and not take reckless swings. That's the big thing too. Just we're going to take strong, confident swings, but not reckless. And so, those are things that you got to talk about with a team that's having success like this is not being overconfident, but also learning from last year. That's a big thing too. Holding a red trophy up was not what you wanted, and in fact, I don't even think they wanted to pick it up. They were so upset. But they picked it up. They took what they got and they moved on and they started working for it next year. So and here we are. They have not forgotten. I promise you that. So more offensively as well. I mean, you're talking some big hits. Frankie Galindo. He's been a 4-year starter for us. He's an athlete. They got to play catcher out of necessity a little bit, and then he played catcher in the next 2 years, and now he's playing center field for us, and he's fast, super fast. In our district meeting, the coaches kind of joked around, said he's on a motorcycle out there. He's so fast. And so, Frankie Galindo, he's fun to watch, and hopefully, he'll probably be considered for an all-star selection. And so, offensively, they're gonna attack it. Next pitch is really our philosophy. Everything we do is next pitch, don't flinch. So what we mean by that is it was whenever we talk to the kids and you get that outside fastball call. It's a 1-1 count. It's a fastball. You see it away. It's really not your zone, but the umpire calls that pitch. Now you're 1-2. You can either sit there and sulk, or you can move on to the next pitch and get ready for your 1-2 pitch, where your team needs you to be in a 2-strike approach, crowd the plate. Whatever your approach is that works for you, you need to get in it. So we really talk about the mental side of that, how we could have changed things from last year if we were a little bit more mentally tough.
You know what you learned? Okay, so the approaches you talked about, we had Braden Reynolds from Bequeva on our show Deep in the Dugout last week on another platform, and he talked about that plate approach and mentally, right? You got to be mentally strong about that. A couple other players I wanted to mention: Bob Boygard having a standout year in the 9-hole. Jack Byers also played on the state championship team, most recruited player, 94 miles an hour. Offers are arriving fast. I would imagine they would. Usher Wood, as a junior, incredibly skilled behind the plate, creates outs on the bases. Charlie Campbell, you said Charlie hit 89 miles on the radar gun with almost no technique, also plays safety in football, part of the championship basketball team. Dylan Pacheco, Diego Morales, great arms for you this year. I'll let you go ahead and talk a little bit about those players.
Yeah, so I mean, Charlie Campbell, he's a goofball, but he's a happy guy. We like having him, but he's also one of the other multi-sport athletes that we have. And so these guys, as we get them, we like it because they, pressure, right? It's pressure moments, and they get that not just in baseball, but in other opportunities in basketball and in football and whatever other sport they're playing. And so being in the high stress environments is something that kind of comes from the multi-sport stuff. So, Charlie's one of those. Jack Byers is one of those. In fact, every one of these kids are playing 2 sports. We don't have a single sport athlete on our field. And so, when you go through Jack Byers, he can touch 94 on the gun. And that's great, but we still want to talk about pitching with conviction. We just don't want to throw a fastball right past somebody. Throw it with conviction. Throw that pitch exactly where it's supposed to be with the right spin and the right spot, and then trust that the 9 dudes behind you are going to get it, because it's 9 against 1 at the end of the day. And so, we're going to throw that with conviction. And so, Jack can do that. And, he's going to live a little bit lower than that, but the scouts really like what he can do. Dalen Pacheco, he's another guy. He's got the most pitches on our team right now. Jack's not there. That guy, the team really looks at him is filling the gap, and he's been that guy for us the last 2 years. And so, Diego Morales is the kid who pitched in the championship game last year as a sophomore. In fact, most of these kids were sophomores last year, so now they're juniors. And so Diego Morales, he came in and pitched that game, and he did pretty well. The first few innings he gave up some runs, but after that he settled down and did well. And so he got to learn from that high stress moment as well. And so we get to use that again this year and say, hey, you've all been in this high stress environment. Now let's just go to work and do what we're supposed to do.
You mentioned you had a story about Charlie. I don't know if you wanted to share that with us. You mentioned a goofy kid, but I'll tell you, when we had him on Road to the Pit, it's hard not to like that kid. Who doesn't like that kid, man? I mean, he's so personable that, again, a part of the championship team. I thought the key player for the championship against Hyden, although, he had some other players play well too, but Charlie was a glue. Can you share that story with us?
Yeah, so, Charlie just hit a home run just not too long ago, and he wasn't even trying for it, and so ever since then he's been swinging pretty big. And we're playing Goddard, and we're in our district meeting yesterday talking about all of district and who our players are, ranking the players, and the Goddard coach was laughing with me, and he said, Charlie Campbell took two huge daddy hacks to swing for the fence, and he said, Charlie, 2 strikes, get in your approach. And so Charlie nods, gives me the hang loose sign, because that's Charlie, right? He gets up there, does the daddy hack, and walks to the dugout, and so the Goddard coach is just laughing, and I'm like, what is this, So, yeah, Charlie Campbell.
He's got to have you in stitches, man, because, again, he's a happy-go-lucky kid. Then you know what? He's a junior, so he'll be back in part of the football lineup, basketball. Coach Mondragon returns just about everybody. Going to be tough for those in 4A in basketball and football, and you I think you return a lot too. You got some seniors on your team, but you return quite a bit as well. Just a couple questions left, and we'll let you go. But when you mentioned strength, you also have flexibility for because lifting is different for basketball, for football, and baseball. Just talk real briefly about the differences there, because you want them to retain their flexibility to play too, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. So I'm the strength and conditioning coach here for the boys, and that's something I got tasked with when Coach Mopping came in, and he said, I really want to change what we do in the weight room. And so, in fact, I kind of stumbled upon this in a clinic with Coach Stevens back in Nunez. And so I think he does a little bit of it in Hobbs, but we really took and ran with it over here. And it's basically we're strengthening movements. We're no longer strengthening muscles as much as movements. We feel like we want the kids to be able to break, move, jump, stop, and be controlled in those. So a lot of our weight program is geared towards how do we strengthen that movement that gets them up to the rim, or that movement that gets them the 2 steps down before contact, and they can get underneath pads with the right leverage, and angle. And same thing in power, in power clean, how do we get the rotational hip training that goes into your swings, your shot put, your discus, your, if you're spiking the ball, volleyball. So there's a lot of things we just attacked movements that these kids need. And the numbers we're seeing off of this are way better than just the traditional, we're going to, push, pull, leg split, or, things like that. So it's fun. The kids like it because their vertical jumps are going up, their squats are getting up there. I think Charlie, that guy almost squats 400. It's just, and most of the team squatting, in 300, and plus, and yeah, it's great. It's fun. So,
real quick, iron sharpens iron. So I think it's a competitive culture, man. That guy's getting better. I got to get better. You got to get better as a coach. You got Coach Moppin right there. Mike just won a championship. Everybody, wants to be a part of that. Coach Jackson Bickel, head coach of the Artesia Bulldogs, the number 1 seed in this week's upcoming 4A baseball tournament. Gosh, what a great time we had today. We sure appreciate you joining us on the Sports Desk. We wish you the best of luck in the tournament.
Perfect. Hey, thanks for having me.
You bet. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you in 2 weeks on the Sports Desk.